back yet. You're keeping the other people waiting.
Oh, hell yeah. You know what this is, and you know why we are here. This is the New York Hardcore Chronicles Live. Often imitated, never duplicated. Yeah. Hello to all our worldwide friends. Very excited about today's show. Really, I really am. You know, I don't get excited about much these days, but I am certainly excited about today's show. Yeah, that's right. Hello, everyone. Hey, Gertie, how you doing? Yes, Kevin. That's right. Stotts today. Yes. I know I am the man. Well, we are the men, you know. And is that right, LaRouche? As a kid, I had such a crush on Wendy. Why I love troubled women. Fair enough. Is that right, Heggs? You still banned on Facebook? Keep posting that nonsense, bro. They'll keep banning you, you know? Yes, shouting out Lori Dawn and the Women of the Pit. Yeah, today's going to be awesome. Today is going to be awesome. I'm looking forward to it. Once again, this is the New York Hardcore Chronicles Live, and we are sponsored by New York Hardcore Comics, The Organic Grill, the Texas Silver Rush, DTFM Vinyl Distro, Generation Records, 126 Hardcore Clothing, and on the show today, to talk about a couple of their new releases, Upstate Records. That's right. Let's make sure everybody's okay. Hello, Paul in the UK. How's the weather? Hey, Frank. It's been a while. Welcome back, man. How's my pop doing? You know, a little bit of a struggle. You know, he's in an assisted living facility, but we're going to try to get him on the show soon. We have a big screening of our film down in Florida. It is the closing film of the West Palm Beach Jewish Film Festival. So it's a big event, and hopefully he's going to come. You know, we're going to get him. Hey, Chris Hoffman, what's happening? There you go. That said, let's bring on the one, the only. Hey, where are you?
I am somewhere in New York City. I am actually in the lobby of who the fuck is that guy?
You're in Michael Alago's lobby.
I'm in Michael Alago's lobby. Yes.
Bro.
Yes, we had lunch earlier, and I needed a quiet corner, and he was kind enough to let me stay here. He's out. He's gonna pop on sometime later, I believe. But
yeah, you wouldn't want to do it in my lobby, bro. They'll beat your ass and take your fucking iPhone in my lobby, bro.
I'll get tased.
Hey, yeah, they'll tase you, and you know. Speaking of great photographers, shouting out Phil and Flash, who's in the chat room. One of the incredible Boston photographers of all time, you know. So that said, yeah, Will Romeo's playing tonight, and we will all be down there at Organic Grill for it. I'm heading down there after the show.
Represent my next card shirt.
Yep.
I'm looking forward to that.
How you doing? Yeah. Photo of the day. Let's get at it. Well, this is an interesting photo of the day today. By popular demand. It's not exactly a photo.
Let's just say I didn't take it. I got this in the mail yesterday.
Boom. What is going on here?
Shall I just launch into it? I think they know.
It looks like Iron Maiden stamps.
Yes, the UK issued official Royal Mail postage stamps for Iron Maiden, and being somewhat of a fanatic, I had to make the purchase. And these are the first day issue stamps, and there's the 4 live ones as well. They did the artwork and they did the live shots as well. And
You could use those. Those are legit.
They're legit, but they're British, so I think you can mail from there to here. I don't know if you can mail from here to there, but they do have the Queen's head in the corner, and
and they have the history of Eddie through the ages.
Well, I got a nice.
Oh, it's just 4. It's just 4 stamps.
Well, no, there's 4 with the artwork, and then there's the 4 live shots. They did live ones as well.
Wait,
and which I'm guessing. I mean, they've had so many people. I wouldn't be surprised if they're Ross Halfin shots, but
that looks like more than 4 live.
Oh, there's 8. Yeah, so, but it was very cool that they, I mean, they're that big. I mean, they really are.
Oh, and it tells you. Oh, it tells you where they're. That's cool. Hammerstein 83. Like these are live shots, kind of like through their career.
Oh yeah, no, and I mean is there a bigger British band right now? Really? I mean, they just they're that big, and I think it's amazing.
Bro,
that they
I don't
did
know. I don't listen to music.
Yeah, but
I'm just kidding.
I think it's funny because this is a band. I think that we've had so many guests that, as hardcore as they are, everyone loves this band.
I should try to get one of them on the show.
That'd be amazing.
I interviewed Bruce Dickinson once.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, I interviewed him when I worked on the Nativity in Black Sabbath.
Oh yes, that's right. That's right. He did Sabbath Bloody Sabbath, I believe, right?
I think so, but I did the video. Does anybody know? Here's a good one. Does anybody know what the video was off the Nativity in Black Sabbath tribute record? I'll give you a clue. I produced it. So we'll see.
I do.
Yeah. And what song? What band? What song? What band?
I'll wait till someone else guesses because I know.
So someone will get it. But in addition to doing that video, me and my brother also did the EPK where we interviewed, everybody that was involved in it. We interviewed Rob Zombie and I remember interviewing Lemmy and
Max Cavalera, I think, was in there,
and all that. And that's when we went and interviewed Bruce Dickinson. No, you are wrong. You are wrong, Kevin Haggerty. The video off that record was not Typo Negative Black Sabbath. Next one.
That's it, Kevin. You're banned.
Okay. 2 people answered it. Yes, it was Biohazard, and the song was After Forever. That was the 5th Biohazard video that I was involved in.
I wonder if they'll be doing that song.
No. I would seriously doubt it. The song was After Forever.
That's a great one. That was a great cover too.
On the end of a rope, do you think you know? Dan. Yeah, we shot that in the desert in California. It was dope. It was cool. Yep. So yeah. So all right. That said, if you ever go to the UK and you need to ship something,
exactly. It's pretty cool though. I figured that would be fun to share today, and in the meantime, we'll be back with more photos.
And I will see you.
I'll see you at the grill.
I'll see you down at the Organic Grill.
Yeah, come. And now, who was the other gentleman that's playing with Will? Sam something.
Sam Hoyas. Yeah.
So I'll be there. I'm looking forward to it.
All right, I'll see you in a couple hours.
You got it.
All right. Do I know you? No, but there you are. Hey, let's bring on today's co-host, our friend, author, and musician, Mr. Joel Ghostin. Hey, man.
Hey, how are you, man?
I'm good. How's New Hampshire?
Not as freezing cold as it was when we got together to talk to Paul Rossler, so we're getting better.
Yo, it hasn't even snowed here in New York yet.
Really? Yeah, we got hit earlier this week, or early last week, I should say.
Yeah.
You know, it's enough. We got about a foot kind of floating around still.
Yeah.
It is what it is, my friend. We
It
can't
is what
control
it
the
is.
weather.
Hey, a little bit of a tie-in here. I don't know if you remember, because they're still chatting on about this Biohazard After Forever video. Your friend Bill Ward was in the video.
Yes, he was. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
That was unplanned, right? From what I understand.
yeah. What happened was we were at, remember those concrete foundations forum like
Yeah.
conventions. We were there, and I at the time I was hired. We were doing the video. Me and Paris Mayhew from Chromags, and Danny from Biohazard tells the story. I forgot it, but he says I called him up in his room and I was like, "Get the fuck down here!" I'm like, "Bill Ward is down here." So he comes running downstairs. It was like, "Bill Ward," and Bill Ward was sort of like, he was like, "What?" He was a little taken aback, and that's why we have that great footage in that video of like the Biohazard guys and Bill Ward.
Fantastic, perfect timing.
Yeah, he's a nice guy, man.
Oh.
Too.
Yeah, he's one of my favorite people of all time. Love Bill.
Yeah, he's a great guy. So that said, we're excited about today's show, huh?
So excited, man. I mean, this is just great, serendipity. I ran into Richie last October. I hadn't seen him in 20 years, hadn't talked to him in about 20 years.
Sure.
And it was so nice just to reconnect with him. And then you and I started talking about having me come on to co-host. And I'm like, light bulb went off. Like, we got to get Richie on the show. And we've got to do it together. So this is just wonderful. It all worked out this way.
Yeah, absolutely. And I got to say, I've really enjoyed, doing research and doing my homework for this show.
Oh, yeah.
I really have, man. It's a good one,
This is going to be awesome.
Because a lot of the shows I do are like, people I've known I've worked with. It's like, I know that, but this was a great deep dive, into his career. So.
Yeah, and a very unique band. I mean, how many bands are like the Plasmatics that we can name? None, really.
Absolutely. That said, let's bring him on.
Excellent.
Today's guest is an American guitarist and songwriter hailing from the Empire State of New York. Alongside the incomparable Wendy O. Williams, he was the first guitarist and founding member of the infamous Plasmatics. They were known for their outrageous live shows that included chainsawing guitars, destroying speaker cabinets, sledgehammering television sets, and blowing up automobiles live on stage. Later, he formed the band King Flux and became a Lower East Side fixture. Here today to talk about his storied career, please welcome, coming at us from Brooklyn, New York, the beloved Mr. Richie Stotts. Hey, man.
Thank you for the introduction. That was great. I'm getting tears in my eyes here,
I'm excited. We're excited you're here, man. Yeah. How's things? How's Brooklyn treating you?
Everything's great. I've been in Brooklyn for the last 20 plus years, and it's my home right now. I love it. It's great.
Yeah, all your Brooklyn friends are chiming in now. So, there you go. Let's just jump into it, man. We got a lot. We got a lot to.
Let's go.
Let's go. How did you come up? Did you grow up in a musical household? How did music come into your life?
No, I grew up upstate New York, a small little town. Used to go fishing with my dog, and one time I was in. It was like a little bit Huckleberry Finn. I remember one time I was fishing, and my dog got the fish hook in its eyelid, and I was by myself, and so it wasn't totally Huckleberry Finn, but it was far cry from New York City.
Where upstate was that?
Well, it wasn't very far. I say upstate, but it's a town called North Salem near Brewster, New York.
Okay.
And but it was a very small town.
Sure.
I wasn't from a musical family, but I had an older brother that just loved more 50s rock and roll, and it was the 60s, so everybody was listening to music, the Rolling Stones, Jimi Hendrix, all that stuff, and I think that was my biggest influence, that I had a lot of support of friends that listened to music. And then it came into my head that, hey, I want to be a musician myself. And to make a very long story short, I went to college for 2 years, quit, and I ended up down here in New York.
Were you playing guitar already? At like what point did you pick up guitar?
I say around 17 wow. When I really started getting serious about playing guitar, and I wanted to play the blues. I love the blues because I used to play along with what was his name? I'm going to say Jimmy Miller, because that anyway, one of the blues guys. I would play with that. It was I could follow that, and you could solo on it.
Freddie King, Albert King.
No. What's the Miller guy?
Miller, huh?
No, but no. I forgot his name. But anyway, I loved the blues and played that in high school, college. And then I quit. I wasn't very good at college. My mind was on another direction.
And what years was this college?
I went to school 71, 73, and I came down to New York in 74.
Wow.
Okay?
When it was all starting to really.
It just started. I missed like the New York Dolls scene. I missed but I went to CBGBs before they had music there. That's how early I was going. So
before we get there, let me just ask. You're a lefty, right? You're a lefty guitar player.
Yeah,
right?
left-handed.
Yeah, and starting off on guitar, was it a little bit of a challenge as a lefty? I mean, were you a true lefty, or did you play a righty guitar backwards, strung the other? Like, how did that work?
I'm all lefty. I kick lefty, throw lefty, everything.
Yeah, I'm all lefty.
Have all left-handed guitar players. I have a little special spot for those guitar players.
Of course.
What was the
no, that's it. Were you a lefty? What guitar players early on inspired you? Like who inspired you real early on, and you said, "Well, I love this guy."
I knew you were going to ask that question. I was thinking, okay, I could mention like all these certain bands, but as far as the guitar inspiration and music inspiration, back at that time, it was like Blue Cheer, MC5. Like when I came to New York, I was like a big MC5 fan, and everybody was talking about the Stooges. And I was like, well, no. What about the MC5? It took like 20 years for New York to catch on to the MC5. Yeah. And I had my mother stole the MC5 album, Kick Out the Jams, along with the first, I think it was Freak Out by the Mothers.
Ooh, good one. That's a personal favorite of mine.
Yeah, and I put it in her bag, and she walked out with it. Unbeknownst, but I had to Kick Out the Jams. There's a Kick Out the Jams MC5 album with the red, White Panthers inside. Mm-hmm. And many years later, I met Wayne Kramer at a hardware store while we were both working doing construction and stuff. But so it was the MC5, Blue Cheer, and also I like the visual bands. I love the early Mothers. I like to say early Mothers. Yeah. Freak Out, We're Only In It for the Money, and Captain Beefheart.
Yeah, I love that stuff too.
Yeah.
Joel, you got anything?
I actually have a little bit of a cheat sheet. Richie's in one of my books. I did from Satan to Sabbath, the metal interviews. So some of this is kind of a little bit of a cheat sheet, but Richie, kind of a little known fact that when we spoke many years ago for the book, you told me about, you auditioned for the Heartbreakers.
That's true.
Yeah,
that's true.
Yeah,
I think I might have been the only person that auditioned. Of course, Walter Lohr played in that band. The Heartbreakers were a spin-off of television and the New York Dolls. And so what the story there was, I was let's just say, to make it, I was living below Richard Hell. Not Richard Hell, Richard Lloyd, the other guitar player in television. And I was, and he says, "Oh yeah, Richard Hell's leaving television, and he's going to form a band with Johnny Thunders, and they're looking for a guitar player. Would you want to audition?" So I said, "Sure." So he gave me the number to Richard Hell. I called him up, and I went down to the studio, and it was just me, Thunders, Hell, and I think it was Jerry Nolan at the time. And there was some manager there. He had purple hair, and it was like really cool looking. And Thunders had the hair at the time and everything. And I was very tall and kind of had a shag Bowie haircut. And I auditioned, and I didn't get the gig. My friend goes like this to me. He says, when you get there, you can play Chuck Berry. So make sure you play a Chuck Berry lick. Make sure you can play. So we were playing, and I just stepped. I think I kind of stepped on Johnny Thunder's toes by playing the guitar solo. And I was very tall, and he was very short. And I don't think he can remember, like about a year before, 6 months before, he had thrown a beer can at my head at CBGB's, So... But I auditioned for the Heartbreakers, so that was great. I was like all proud of that. That was enough for me.
Yeah.
That was enough. I auditioned for.
It's probably for the best that you didn't make it into that band.
No. I totally no. There was like
some hard living going on in that band.
These guys were. I was like an innocent kid.
Yeah.
I would have been eaten up.
So you talked about. You went to CBGB's before. I think I even have an ad for that. Hold on, let me see. What it was called Hilly's on the Bowery, wasn't it?
I don't remember, but we used to go over to CBGB's, and there were dogs there, and if I remember, there was like couches, and then they started setting up the band in the corner or somewhere. And there was television. Oh, wow.
Look at that. Hilly's on the Bowery presents.
I was there. That's it. So years later, Hilly, I think he said to me, "You're not my number 2 or number 1 customer,"
Wow.
And so I used to go over there, and I saw television play, and Patti Smith. Patti Smith was just like reading poetry. I didn't even know what was going on. There was some guy playing piano, which was Lenny Kaye, and she was singing and stuff. I was there to see television, honestly. No knock on Patti Smith, but I was like, television.
Well, as fate as history would have it, I believe that television really the first kind of, in lack of a better term, rock band to play Hilly's place? I mean, to play CBGB's. I think it was television, right?
I would think so.
Yeah.
They were really great. I mean, it was kind of like they were like a jamming band a little bit.
Yeah.
But, of course, those bands like Television, the Ramones, and you can't really categorize, but they were really, I really loved them. And I loved Fred Smith, who became the second bass player, but my heart is still with when Hal played. He was like comic relief,
right?
He'd come up and do something like what, but it was a pretty good band. Of course, it's always looking back, things are maybe better than you think, but I thought they were a really great band. And so
did you see? I'm assuming that you kind of saw the embryonic kind of Ramones happening at CBGB's. Any recollections of that?
Well, the first time I saw Ramones was like looking through the window. I think it was audition night. I could never afford to get into that place, Right. And if I did get in, I would like do this sneaky thing. I'll be honest with you. You kind of sneak up behind somebody while they're at the bar, and then you grab their beer and stuff like that. I mean, I was like, it was back in those days. But I saw the Ramones through the window at the I don't know, some festival and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is way after they've.
Yeah. Just a little bit later. Yeah.
I saw him at Max's too. This is a good one. I saw Ramones at Max's. It was freaking great, because they were out of their element, and now they were in a really nice, kind of cool. What do we call it? Nice stage, even though small.
Yeah. Let's talk about Plasmatics and how that came about. I know you were there in the beginning. Could you set the table for us and tell us kind of like how all that, how the stars align and how the Plasmatics get going?
I'll just go through it quickly. I've some people know this and some people don't.
Sure.
But I had a band, and the band was called Numbers, and it was a 3-piece band, and we had played a show. There was like, if you going back to New York at that time, it was New York at that time was something like, if you ever saw the movie Donnie Brasco or Popeye Doyle with the French Connection, New York actually looked like that. It was all gray and there wasn't much going. It was like, if anybody knows New York, if you walk down Broadway around Bleecker, there's all these stores. It was empty.
Yeah.
And going past 2nd Avenue at that time was dangerous. So that's sort of like the New York of that time. And there was very few places to play. There was only CB's and Max's, and occasionally there was a third club. Well, even farther down the road, there was these loft parties at the time, and there was a loft party down in Greenwich Street. I'm going into too much detail here, but my band, this band at the time, Numbers, we played down there, and Rod and Wendy were down there, and they saw the band, and I got in touch with Rod, and Rod Swenson, who was working this Show World theater up on 42nd and 8th Avenue. I don't, for a better word, kind of a peep show, nudie stuff type of show. It was like a sex type of
Show World.
Yeah. Show World.
I remember it well.
Yeah, and he had like Ivan Crowell working up there from Patti Smith's band and everything, but he sort of had a little bit of a name for himself in the downtown scene because he was making videos and nobody was doing videos at the time. So I ended up talking to him after this show, and he said, "Look, I want to put a band together. I was thinking about managing a band, but I said, why not just create my own band? And I want Wendy to be the singer. I really believe in Wendy. She's never was in a band, but I think she can do it. But what I need help on, and I think you'd be talking to me, I think you'd be really a good fit." I'm putting words into his mouth, but I need help putting a band together. I have no idea how to put a band, and that's it. So he was the manager. I was the guitar player, and he says, "I'm going to write the lyrics for the songs you bring. I'll work with Wendy. You put the band together." It was very structured in that sense, which is good. And I think a lot of bands are structured. I mean, this may be a little bit different. So that's how the band started. Yeah.
And for those out there who may not know, Rod Swenson was in lack of a better, he was the manager of the Plasmatics, and
yes.
He was married to Wendy O. Williams. Were they married? No, they weren't married.
No, as far as I know, no, they were not married. But they were a couple. But they kept that kind of out of the business sense.
Yeah. And Rod was around. For those out there that might have seen the Michael Alago film that I did, Rod shot that fantastic Dead Boys footage from CBGB's.
Exactly.
Yeah, he had the sort of insight to record that kind of stuff. I mean, that Dead Boys footage from CBGB's is iconic, and he was kind enough to license some of it to us for the Alago film, because Alago is in the footage. You see him in the front dancing.
Yeah.
We had to have that footage, So yeah.
Well, he's got other stuff too. He's got Blonde, he's got the Ramones, and he's got plenty of Plasmatic stuff that I would like to see. But
yeah. So who was sort of the original lineup?
The original lineup was myself
Mhm.
and Wendy.
Mhm.
And I had a friend. I was living at the time on I was living in the West Village, and I had a friend right around the corner named Jose Funahara. And Jose had the most, he was this really cool looking guy. He had shaved head, and Jose is Japanese.
Yep.
And I went over to his house, and I says, I'm looking for a bass player. I was telling him, and he reaches underneath his bed, and he's got this great bass, like a kind of like a Flying V-ish type of looking bass. And so I brought him down the rod. He says, do you think he fits the band? I said, sure, we can work together. And then we auditioned Stu Deutsch.
Yep.
And he joined the band. And that was the nucleus of the original band, was Stu, Jose, myself, and Wendy. And that's how it started. And just to continue, because I think I'm going to answer maybe the questions that you're going to ask. How did all this stuff happen?
Mm-hmm.
And I remember the first show we did at CBGB's. I'm on stage, and I kind of had, like I had this haircut. I don't know what I had, maybe cut short.
Sure.
And Wendy pulled her top down, and I said to myself, I'm going to have to do something, more than just this. But it was like, this is great. This is the band I've been looking for, Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, I mean, this is one of the earlier Plasmatics photos that I had that I dug up. But man, I don't know if you get away with this in today's world. Pulling out a shotgun on stage like that.
Yeah, Wendy had the shot. She shot me one time with the band. There was a lot of what would you say? You learn and give and take with the band. There was things that we tried that didn't work. And then there was things that worked, but they were dangerous, and sometimes you got a little hurt. And I remember getting shot by that shotgun in my leg, and I still have a scar on my leg from that shotgun. But
wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. Is this the photo from the Calderon?
I don't know.
I remember we talked about this you had a story for this. It might have been the Calderon, the Rick Rubin story, maybe.
No, I could see one of the speaker cabinets behind me that said Sun City. I went around and I had some phony speaker cabinets. I would get things that sounded. I remember one time I got white trucks. White. You ever heard of white trucks? I unscrewed the thing in front of the truck, and if you know what I mean, and put it on the speaker cabinet. And people thought they were amps. That wasn't at the Calderon. That I don't know where that was, but we did play the Calderon one time. I'm jumping here.
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead. It's a good story.
Yeah, there was the rough CBGB period where we're just pulling it together, promoting the band, getting the name out. We would do postering. Still, I don't see anybody that does postering like we did. I mean, it was, if we did a show, it was 2 weeks. The weekend we posted, and then the next weekend we post. We had a van. We had it down. We had a ladder in the van. We fought with the big boys. We call it the big boys, like the Broadway guys. They put up with this stuff. Then we come back, put our little posters up. We had the wheat paste, and we went to this other type of paste. We would always be covered. So anyway, enough of that. But there was a lot of hard work in that band.
Well, we've talked about this many times on the show. There was no internet then. There was no social media then. Basically, going out and wheat pasting flyers was the internet of that era. I mean, that's how you do it. You went out. And you'd go out even in the dead of winter. You'd be out there freezing, getting paste all over yourself. It was brutal. Man.
Exactly. And we had the bucket, and then we'd goof around, and then we'd get mad at each other, this is late. But and usually the postering was done well. So then we got our first record deal with Stiff. Mm-hmm. And before we I think it was before we got the record deal. We were almost I won't say auditioning, but before the record deal, we got a gig at the Calderon Theater, which is it's a pretty big theater out in Long Island.
Sure.
And Rick Rubin, I don't know if everybody knows who Rick Rubin is, but he's like this kind of big record producer now. He's done everybody. And he came to our show. His parents would drive. We were rehearsing downtown in Tribeca, and his parents would drive home to our rehearsals. He'd come off and listen and stuff, check out our equipment. But Rick, at the time, well, I haven't seen him in years, but he was a great guy and very supportive of the band. And one last thing, he brought me over to NYU around 1984, 83, or 82. I can't remember, 83. And he had a dorm room, and he wanted to show me some new stuff he's working on. I was like, what's this? It was like, all the rap stuff he was doing. I had no idea what this was.
Woo! It was like, woo!
Yeah, it went right over my head.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Makes a lot of sense. Was the Stiff album? Was that New Hope for the Wretched?
New Hope for the Wretched. Yeah.
Yeah. And here we go with that. And man, how can I even put this cover into words? You know what I mean? I remember seeing this as a teenager and just being like, wow, what's going on here?
Well, and this is really what I just love looking back upon this. This is the band had there was a lot of humor to it, but it was serious too. But here, of course, maybe not so serious, but it was a lot of fun. And this was all just Rod came up with. This was down in some nudist colony in New Jersey, and it was in the winter. So he had this idea of putting this, car into a swimming pool. And
I guess now that you say that, you look at the trees and the trees don't have leaves on them. So it's the fucking winter.
Yeah, they just dropped the car in there, and I think it chipped a little bit of the pool on the side. I think that had to be repaired. But I remember, I don't know what, there was a balloon there or something. What is that, a tube? And well, why don't you just get into the tube, Rich, and I'll give you my guitar too. So it was a lot of fun, And
I always tripped out how the tip of the flying V is actually in the pool.
Yeah.
That always was
Then there's some video now I saw of me paddling with the flying V. I don't even remember doing that, but
wow.
I think it got farther into the water than it looks there.
Yeah. Joel, you got anything on this?
Well, with New Hope for the Wretched, the lineup had changed a little bit. Chosoi was replaced by Jean Beauvoir.
Right.
And second guitar player, Wes Beach, joined at that time. So I was wondering, when it became the 5-piece lineup, that group of people on that album, how do you think that helped propel the band forward, having those 5 people working together?
Well, I love playing as the part I feel kind of bad is that really love working with Chosei, but Chosei, had some other projects he was working on, and he kind of moved on, and then we brought in Beauvoir, who was great. Beauvoir, I had known Beauvoir from going way back when I was telling you about those loft parties. I had met him a few times, and he came to rehearsal. And actually, we were down to 2 people. Are you ready? I don't know if this is a good tidbit. We were down to 2 people at the time, Beauvoir and Chris Romanelli, who later played on Coup d'Etat. Mm-hmm. And Chris, we love Chris, but he was very young. He was 15 or something. So we just couldn't be in the band. And now that's, but at the same time, Beauvoir, Jean came to us, and he had a lot of experience playing with Gary U.S. Bonds, and I think he was ready to he was ready to go. And like, that's what we needed. And I think his bass playing, you know, like if you listen to some of the songs, like for the fans, like Master Plan, he did some really great stuff. So I think when we added Wes as you know, another guitar player, which filled out the sound, and we added Bouvard, I think we took a step up musically, which I think that was great. You know, I mean, we needed to do that because at the time it was like me playing guitar, and it was, you know, I'd go on some solo and I'd be like, "Whoa, what's going on?" You know?
The bottom would drop out, right?
Yeah, you know, and you know, we were learning as it went. You know, I mean, like I'll just throw out a name. I remember Marky Ramone came to one of our shows, you know, and I was like, you know, so what'd you think? He says, you got to get a guitar tuner. You know, I mean, electric guitar tuner. We were upstage going, darn. And then next time he came, you got to get another guitar. You know, if you break a string, then it was like, you got to get another amp. And I remember Rod, our manager, he would say, "What are you doing up there? You're bending over, and what are you reaching for?" I was touching this pedal and stuff. And he's like, "You can't be bending over and doing stuff." And eventually I just got rid of all the pedals. I just, you know, but you're
like one of these old school guys. I got rid of the pedals. I just plugged straight in and turned it up loud.
But just here's a little plug. I'm working with a friend of mine with a distortion pedal. It'll be like, you know, and his name, you know, it's called 13th Floor Pedals. Throw that in.
Okay, there you go. You know, a little something, you know, about this record. It seems just sort of looking at the analytics. Well, first off, you know what I wanted to mention is the Jimmy Miller thing. Jimmy Miller. The infamous Jimmy Miller was brought in to produce the record, and apparently he just couldn't function, and you guys sent him packing, right? And then I think Rod Swenson and Ed Stasium kind of took over. Is that right?
Yeah, I guess so. I mean, you're friends with Ed Stasium, so I would need to. I think they mixed it. Ed and Rod mixed it, but. You know, when Jimmy Miller came on board, first of all, I just love the Stones. And I think that I'm not really sure what happened. My theory is that there was before Beggars Banquet was a different band. All of a sudden there was Beggars Banquet, and then what happened, you know? And so I give Jimmy Miller a lot of credit on that, but I also give him big credit because he introduced me to Motorhead. And he just had done Motorhead. So I wasn't sure, like, is he like really into this? Because one time we, I hate to say this, but John found him in the bathroom. We couldn't find Jimmy. Where's Jimmy? And he found him in the bathroom, kind of, you know, a little stoned. And then one day we couldn't find him again, and then he calls it like from Amsterdam. I'm trying to track down my Spencer Davis royalties, you know, and stuff. And you know, he's from Brooklyn. Jimmy Miller's from Brooklyn. Right. Yeah. But there was moments when Jimmy Miller got behind the board and it all came together. And one thing he said to me that was always great. I said, "Gee, this guitar solo is going to be the same solo." He says, "It's Keith Richards does the same thing over and over again. That's what you got to do, you know." So he was very supportive, and I like Jimmy Miller, but I think he got a bit of a. I think he recorded that record. He created that sound. He put that. There's a song with a cowbell monkey suit, and he did great. He's great.
And you co-wrote like the majority, 8 of the 12 songs on this record, including Butcher Baby, right?
Yeah.
That's a personal favorite.
Yeah, Butcher Baby. There was 2 songs on that record, actually, Tight Black Pants and Living Dead, that I actually had from my other band. And then we put new lyrics on. You know, there were songs I wrote. I had, but I remember when we came up with Butcher Baby, I went down when I was working with Rod on this song. I said, well, he said, what else you got? Like, what else you got? Like, so I said, well, I got this one crazy song. It just goes, and it was like, I thought it was insane. And he said, oh, I love that song, and so that was, I think also it was my mindset there was like to be very frenetic or fast and crazy. And, I think a lot of this stuff came from the music, the music, I think the visuals, at least for me, jumping around the stage, you had to have that music to back you up. I couldn't be playing. I Want to Be Your Dog jumping around. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I'm looking for a good plasmatic shot to kind of go with that. Here you go. Here's a cool one. There you go. Looks like you're right in the scrum right there,
Definitely.
Did you enjoy playing with Stu Deutsch as the other guitar player?
Oh, West Beach.
Well, excuse me.
West Beach. Oh yeah. We just have reconnected after like 20 years, and I've spoken to him a few times, and but he was great. Wes was like, when we brought him in, he was like a rock. If we had this is not, but this is important. Like if we had a long road trip and we had to drive to California, you can count on Wes to drive. If you can count on Wes to always be solid on the guitar.
He was solid.
Yeah, solid. And be there. I mean, you got to be there. You can't be to play all the time. You got to, I hate to say professional, but you have to be professional.
Yeah. Just sort of looking, doing my homework and looking at the sort of the analytics a little bit, New Hope for the Wretched, it did okay. It charted here in the States. It did well in the UK. What was the feeling of the band? Did you feel like, hey man, we're making some ground, we're making some headway here with this? Was it a good feeling about it? Did you feel like, yeah?
Yeah, that's what I mean. That's a good point. I think the trajectory of the band was like constantly going up, and it just snowballed, and everything snowballed. So like, while the band was, now we got interest for Stiff, and I then we did some TV shows, live TV shows. There was the Fridays. There was the Solid Gold. We did Tom Snyder.
Oh! You mean you did? Whoa! I got it. Whoa! Pow!
Yeah.
1, 2, 15, so shoot!
Yeah, you guys are doing it here.
Yeah,
for sure. Yeah, good. So I just so happened I had that footage teed up. That's good stuff.
Yeah, we had a hole in the ceiling from that night from the car. And Don, I remember we played, and those studios are really small.
Yeah.
And I remember going home that night, and we filmed it like at 4:30 or 5:30. I remember going home, and I fell asleep, and I was on Suffolk Street, and I fell asleep. I gotta watch the show now. It's like I just made it. But it was so great, and if I watch Saturday Night Live I still get that it comes back to me, that vibe of live TV,
Yeah.
Like but so the band just kept going and going and going, and then we just kept adding to stuff, the outfits, like for me, I started off. I think I started off with a nurse outfit. Then I wore a ballerina outfit, and I had a tutu, and they said, "I'll put the tutu with the nurse," and then I did this and that and stuff. And
I mean, you're a big guy, so
Yeah.
was it hard, sort of like getting like, okay, a nurse's outfit, like how tall are you? What are you, 6'2"?
No, 6'6".
I'm 6'6", and I need a tutu. How did that go?
Oh, I had a whole. I was totally into the whole thing. I even figured it out like that. I had this little tiny. I had a nurse's outfit. So it's easy. You go to the nurse's outfit and you just say, "Look, I'm doing a show. Can I go in and try it on?"
Right.
And then you got the hat, and then I'm really into the hat. Very important about the hat and how to stick it on my head, and I had to stick it around my neck, and then the tutu was an interesting thing because the tutu spreads out. So how do you put like a skirt or a dress over the tutu? So I went up to Bloomingdale's. This is where Wendy and I this is where we got along. Wendy and I bonded, on the like we bonded on kind of like the creativity of like nurse outfit, and she was covered. So she said, "Why don't you use like one of those tennis skirts that have pleated? Because they'll kind of spread out." So in that picture, there was one of those pleated things. I mean, it's a small detail, Well, we got into that. Then I remember I had these like high-heeled blue, really cool, like New York Dolls kind of
platforms.
Yeah, platform shoes.
Yeah,
I was just gigantic, but they sucked for running around. And I got wrestling shoes. I just love these wrestling boots. I just don't step on any nails or anything like that.
Yeah.
Because they're very thin on the bottom. But
Joel, you got anything on this?
Yeah, that was an interesting record. That was the second full-length Plasmatics album. And one of the many things that's interesting about this record, Neil Smith from the Alice Cooper Group plays drums on that album. How did the whole Neil connection come about?
Stu, we'd have to get Stu in here. But he decided that he wanted to leave the band. Okay. And it was kind of on short notice. And that's why there's no drummer there in that picture. I think we even had don't quote me on this. A lot of people know more about this than I do, but I think we had the photo shoot already planned. Oh, but wait a second. No, we had to record the album. Take that back. We had the album ready to be recorded. We had been working on the songs, and Stu knew most of the songs for that record, but he wanted to leave. Okay, then he wanted to leave, and so we had to, scramble and get a drummer for the record, somebody that could play it. Now I don't know who had the number for Neil Smith. I might have been John Bouvard or Rod. It wasn't me. But Neil came down, and I love Neil. He was a great guy. He's like tall like me. So, so I never get to look at people in the eye. And he had long hair, which I don't, he was a guy with really long hair. And I loved Alice Cooper when I was a kid. I'm going back when you were asking me. They had this album called Pretties for You, that Frank Zappa record. Nobody knows about it. Some people do. And he liked that I knew that record. And so he came down, we did the record. He was great. And I wanted him to be in the band and play. But I think financially it wasn't a right fit for him, if I can be politically correct and say it that way.
Sure.
It didn't work out that well, but I was kind of sad. So then we went down and did that album shot without a drummer, and I don't know who got Tony Petrie, but we got Tony Petrie from Twisted Sister to do the tour with us. So he played the tour of New Hope for the Wretched. But I when we did this record, a little side, I think I've told this story before, but I had to tell you this story. We the camera broke, and they had to go into town to fix the camera, and so we had like an hour or two, and we took this horseback ride up into the mountains.
Now, I gotta ask. A couple people been asking, and
yeah.
Let me just address this real quick. Everybody, we're gonna those asking questions that aren't getting answered. Don't get uptight. The last part of the show, we'll take all your questions. So there's a routine here. There's a format to this show. So let's not get crazy. But Ramone, what was this stuff shot in Arizona?
Superstitious Mountains in Arizona. It really was out in the desert. And like I said, I got a skull that I brought back. I still have hanging up here from Arizona, and a horseshoe, and a tumbleweed that I lost.
Superstition Mountains?
Yeah, I can't. It's like a tongue. Superstitious.
It looks like you guys are getting baked out there too.
Oh, we did. Yeah,
like I could see. This looks like it's a little later, and already you and Wendy, like you could see Jean Beauvoir in the white suit is probably boiling. Best off,
And my outfit was like I got this outfit from like this crazy store. That's like vinyl. But yes, it's in the mountains. There's a lost gold mine behind this somewhere that nobody can find.
Superstition Mountains. I got to look that up.
Yeah. It's outside of like it's not far from we fly to the airport, and I think
here it is. I see it. Superstition Mountains, range of mountains in Arizona, east of Phoenix.
Yes.
Oh yeah. Here's the exact spot. It looks like the exact spot where you. Yeah. Wow. Beautiful. Really beautiful. Wow. Good stuff.
And that was what was so great about the band, because the time, I started at 24, and I was like, I had never been anywhere in my life. When I went to Boston, I was like, oh my God, we're in a hotel now. There's a pool downstairs. I called my parents up. I'm in a hotel.
Awesome.
Yeah. And then all this stuff, we traveled. It was just great. I loved driving around and seeing all this stuff. And
it was an exciting time.
Yeah. And I'll say this, we went to a lot of places, and there was some incidents, but maybe Texas, but overall people were really cool.
Here's an interesting shot I came up with. I don't know if you ever. This seems like a production photo from when you were shooting. This photo's pretty beat up, but this looks like a photo from when you were actually out there doing it.
I don't know who the guy. Yeah, the guy with the T-shirt.
It says "Pig Out." I don't know who that is.
Pig Out. Yeah, that's George Pearson. He was our sound guy. And unfortunately, George has left us. Yeah, I just found out about this. I think that's Arizona. Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense. What else did I want to say? I love just a last note on the latex suit in the desert. This was way before. This is in the days before you need to hydrate yourself. This is when you'd go out into the desert and you wouldn't even bring any water. And
no, I was just like. Yeah, we were like, we just did it. There was no bottles of water and these things,
that's funny.
Yeah, and we were getting on horses. There was, that's a good point. There was no insurance. We had no insurance. We just did all this stuff, I like falling on TV glass. There was a few times at the hospital you had to go for various things, and they just did it.
Yeah, and here's a little bit of a kind of a frame, kind of. But that was it. Did everybody know how to ride horses?
Bouvard was great. He's a great rider. I can wing it. I can get up on the horse. If I remember one of them threw me off, I just got back on. Everybody was like, "Wow, yeah, got to show them who the boss is."
Oh, Stefan Sonic said Stu Deutsch was in that photo, so that couldn't have been in Arizona. So yeah, that kind of answered that other photo that I put up. That makes sense.
Oh, it was. Stefan knows more than I do. I swear.
Yeah, don't you love it? Don't you love it when there's people that like can give you back your memories? Like here you go. Like here like all right, yeah, okay.
I talked to him like a couple of weeks ago. He says, "Well, now tell me about the time you chainsaw a keyboard on stage." I go, "I don't remember that," but
right.
He says we did it. So,
are those the wrestling boots? It looks like those could be.
Those are the boots I was telling you about.
Yeah.
No, they're not the wrestling boots. Those are those boots were great. They had a heel on them, but they were hard to walk on them. They were actually expensive pair of boots.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah, Stefan says that's what we're here for. Well, thank you. We appreciate that. Let's I know no, I don't want to jump there yet, but I'm trying to wind down the Plasmatic stuff a little bit, but
let me jump in for a second.
Please.
One question I had for you, Richie, that I think is very important, because obviously when people discuss the Plasmatics, they discuss the wild stage show and the chaos you guys created, which is all beautiful. But with respect to Wendy, it's my understanding that Wendy was not only straight edge during that time, but was vegetarian, was very involved with animal rights, and lived a very health conscious lifestyle. I thought you could maybe speak a little bit about that and her commitment to that way of life. Right.
Well, I think she was a vegetarian in the beginning of the band, and then she became vegan. This is something but yes, she was very strong about what she ate and put in her body. She sort of got me into, some healthy eating. And I still, I still follow some of the things that she said, Yeah. I mean, she was a strong, vegetarian. And, the animal rights stuff, I think kind of came a little bit later, but as far as being actively animal rights, but she always was like, healthy vegetarian. And as far as the straight edge stuff, yes, I never saw Wendy smoke weed, drink, do drugs or anything like that. I mean, I probably drank a lot of beer during that time. So, but the crazy thing, the whole band was pretty much like that. I mean, if the worst person was me. It's kind of odd in a way, Stu, John, Wes, Wendy, we're all, none of us smoked cigarettes, I mean, later on, I think maybe a couple of the other guys did, but the original band and Jean Bouvard and Wes, pretty much, there was no cigarettes. And so it wasn't just Wendy, but, kind of the whole, the band,
Well, it reminds me sort of like, that, what was that line, you got to be responsible to be irresponsible, in a certain regard. You got, things might look chaotic, but believe me, there's some order going on behind this. It's not just utter sheer chaos, because you couldn't function like that playing show after show.
No, that's a lot of people go, oh, you guys must have been like crazy on drugs and stuff. No, we couldn't, because we had a lot to do, lots of stuff to do. And I remember one time I met these guys from this band. They were I guess you could call them hardcore youth of today.
Yeah, of course.
And I think they wanted to do something with me, and they told me they were straight edge. This was after the band broke up, and I was like, well, what's straight edge? But then I realized, like, Wendy was straight edge,
Right.
that was a term that I didn't know about.
Yeah. Just kind of moving it forward a little bit before we got to take a break. But this album, I was what's the word? Flummoxed to find that Dan Hartman produced this record.
Yeah, Dan
Hartman, who was in Edgar Winter and White Trash, and had the song, what was it?
I can sing about it.
Instant Replay, right? That was Dan Hartman. Right?
Yeah.
I mean, and this guy has this incredible sort of resume of stuff he's produced and stuff he's done. How did Dan Hartman and the Plasmatics come together?
Well, Dan, first of all, was a fantastic guy. He's a big supporter of the band, and he also was very supportive of me, especially after I got out of the band. He's a great guy. One thing I learned about the music industry, there's guys that have, like, he's not only a producer, but he had great ears and great timing. Right. And this is something that you don't really understand. At least I didn't understand until like working with some good people. And Dan really was a great guy, and he did this album up in Connecticut, and he used to come to the shows. He really loved Wendy. He got the band, and we had a lot of fun with this record. That pentagram. And by the way, I want to just say a shout out to the fans of the Plasmatics. They're just the absolute best fans in the world. I want to say happy birthday to Delphina out in Long Island. But that cross, that pentagram back there, is now in Arizona by a friend of mine who has a record store, Asylum Records, Scott, and he bought that. I don't know how he got it, but somehow it was in a barn, forgotten about, lost, and he tracked it down or somehow, and it's out in Arizona. So, and because he's a great fan, I just want to say that.
Wow, it's great when stuff like that turns up,
We were kind of transitioning here.
Hi, Delphina, and thanks for tuning in. There's that's great. Yeah.
But
go ahead.
I think the band, what I love about our band is that, we were transitioning. Like, each album is a little bit, different things. There was New Hope, and then it went into a little, I think the musicianship, I'm not going to say, I think got a little bit better. I don't know. It went up that trajectory that we were talking about with Beyond the Valley, and Metal Priestess was our kind of turning a little bit towards more of a metal sound.
Sure.
And I always hate saying like we were punk and metal, because I think we were the Plasmatics. And I don't think you can really say, oh, they were punk or they were metal and stuff like that. So Metal Priestess. And then, of course, it was Coup d'etat. Now,
Coup d'etat was recorded in Germany, right? In Cologne?
Yeah.
And this was sort of your last dance with the band, correct?
That's correct. And we did a demo. I would call it a full demo with Dan Hartman, going back to Dan Hartman. We got the Plasmatics, Capitol wanted to put out a Plasmatic record, and they wanted to get a producer. And so Dan was sort of, I hate to say it, auditioned by just recording a whole damn album. And that's been released.
Was that the recording at Electric Ladyland?
Yeah, they have an album now, Coup de Grace, that was released.
Right.
They released this.
Sure.
Dan Hartman was on it, and another guy, Joe Belaney, was the engineer on that. I don't know if you know Joe, but he's done a lot of great stuff. And Dan, unfortunately, didn't get the gig to do the album, but Dieter Dirks got the call, and we went over to Stammeln outside of Cologne, Germany. And we went over there, right? We go over this little tiny town in Stammeln, right? And like, gosh, oh God, I shouldn't say this, but there was like kind of like old timers like walking around without, maybe
right.
like without an arm or something. And I was like, oh God, because probably they were in the war,
Mm-hmm.
But Dieter had bought a big Cadillac himself. And the car, he brings it in. We were talking about a little tiny town. He brings the car in. The whole town is looking at this car. It doesn't even fit on the road. It looks so weird, Anyway.
I need to take a sponsor break.
Okay.
So let's do a sponsor break, and we're going to bring one of our old friends on, a old friend of yours as well, Richie. And so let's take a sponsor break, and we'll be back in a couple of minutes. You guys have a couple of minutes.
How many minutes? 5, 10?
Probably about 10.
Okay.
All right. I'll see you in a bit, Joel. I'll see you in a bit, Richie. Go figure. This is the New York Hardcore Chronicles Live. What a great show. We are sponsored by New York Hardcore Comics, The Organic Grill, DTFM Vinyl Distro, Generation Records, 126 Hardcore Clothing, and the Texas Silver Rush. They're a jewelry design firm and boutique store located in the birthplace of the Texas country music scene in Fredericksburg, Texas. They specialize in working with musicians in all music genres to design and create unique one-off pieces, as well as style them for stage, album covers, promo photos, and social media exposure. Their client list includes Rockwell Hall of Famers Greg Rowley, Ringo Starr, and of course, Agnostic Front. Information on online sales are being taken at their Facebook and Instagram page, and of course, www.thetexassilverrush.com. Let's clear the deck. Let's hear from some of our other friends.
Since 1992, Generation Records has been a mainstay of the New York metropolitan area music scene. Today, they offer a diverse selection of new and used rock, jazz, indie, hip-hop, punk, hardcore, metal, blues, soundtrack, and reggae LPs, as well as t-shirts, posters, and other merchandise. They buy used record collections and music memorabilia and will pay you top dollar for them. House calls made for large collections in the tri-state area. Call or email generationrecords@gmail.com and follow them on Facebook and Instagram.
Hey guys, Vlad from Organic Grill. As you can see, we're in a new location on West 3rd Street, right by Blue Note and Comedy Central. The place is bigger, kitchen is bigger, we have more varieties, more food. We are looking forward to treat you guys with great dishes. All Hardcore Chronicles, welcome to Organic Grill. We are going to serve all the events as we usually do, and we are happy to see you guys.
Peace, what it do? Welcome to NYHC Comics at 117 Main Street, Dobbs, Surrey, New York. I'm Debo the Pro with my homie
Lee Farley.
Welcome to the spot. Specializing in yesterday's and today's comic books, rare CGCs, toys, collectibles.
Got skateboards, old school tapes, Magic the Gathering, Warhammer.
Video games, original art pieces by your favorite New York City and worldwide artists. Let's go. Skate decks all day, baby.
We also have the young reader section here for like 10 and under. The Pops. People love the Pops.
Star Wars! We are New York Hardcore. We always rep the scene. Let's get it on.
And we're back. This is the New York Hardcore Chronicles Live, co-hosted today by our good friend, author, and musician, Joel Ghostin, and super excited to have the beloved Richie Stotts on the show. See lots of Plasmatics people out there and Richie Stotts people. We're going to be doing questions towards the end of the show, so hang in there. If you're wondering how to support the show, and the show could use your support, there's a Patreon page, and there it is. Please support the show on Patreon. Don't be a Hatreon. There's a PayPal address too. This show functions and exists because of your support. That's no joke. Heading to show 250. It's no secret. That's what's up. I want to bring on some of our friends from Upstate Records real quick. They got some stuff going on. Hey, Mario. Hey, Kim.
Hey, how are you doing?
What's up, Drew? How are you?
I'm good. Good. How's things upstate?
Excellent. Excellent. Battled a little snow this past week, but we made it through.
Cool. Cool. Hey, let's talk about this stuff that you guys have going on. Mario, fill us in on what's going on here.
Hell yeah. We got a busy week ahead of us, dropping 2 singles. The first one is Fury of 5 this Friday, Feel the Rain. It's going to be streaming everywhere. Really, really excited. The boys are also just finishing up the touches on the new video. Looks like that will maybe drop next week, but it looks banging, dude. Banging.
And we're very happy that Fury 5 is back playing live again. They're back in the mix. They were just on the show, and I used to manage it back in the day, and it was quite one of my most an incredible adventure. So we're
they said they
happy.
only beat you up a couple times.
Yeah, good one. I think they beat up everyone but me.
But would you pay them off?
Yeah. So there you go. And also you have this going on, right?
Yep. These guys are out of Detroit. Relatively new band. They started in 2020 or 2021. Yeah. It's like a Biohazard meets Rage Against the Machine, but they got a new track, new video dropping this week called Rat Traps, featuring Detroit rapper Aztec the Barfly. And the video is awesome. Awesome.
Right on.
Good crossover mix.
Yeah. And and like I said, anytime, we got to get some of these bands down to the Bowery Electric,
Hell yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Hell yeah.
And then we got here they go. Pre-orders this Friday, right? And if you use the coupon code STONE10, you get 10% off, right?
That's right. For all your listeners out there, hit up our website, upstaterecordsny.com, and the 10% or STONE10 coupon code is good for everything on the store.
That's awesome, man. Thank you so much. And I know people are super excited about these releases, and I want to thank you. I really appreciate you being a sponsor. It just fits really well, and I'm excited. I love when you guys come on and we talk about what's happening.
Drew, our pleasure. Glad to support you and what you're doing. The interview with Richie is amazing. Yeah,
it's going to be good. We're getting popping here. So take care of yourselves in upstate New York, Mario and Kim, and all the best to you. We'll see you soon with some other stuff.
You got it, Drew.
All right, take care.
Bye-bye.
Okay. Well, there you have it. Those are our friends at Upstate Records. Please support them. That said, I think what? Real quick, I want to jam through real quick upcoming shows, and then we're going to bring our guests back on along with our co-host. Coming up a week from today, Mr. Phil Demmel from Violence and Machine Head, Sunday, February 5th. A couple days after that, I am very personally excited about the Hot Tuna retrospective. Being a huge fan of Jorma Kaukonen, of course, Jefferson Airplane and Hot Tuna. Steve Austin will be on the show. He actually played bass with Jorma and is quite a Hot Tuna historian. Wednesday, February 15th, Andy Guida from Altercation, Supertouch, Absolution, Stillborn, and he has the show, the Studio 6-3 Studios. Sunday, February 19th, Vinny Vitale Marauder has been cited, and he will be on the show. Dave Dichter from MDC, Sunday, February 26th. Then we have Wednesday, March 1st, Skeeter Thompson from Screen, DC Hardcore Represent. I'm excited about, I always love when filmmakers and actors and authors come on the show. Wednesday, March 8th, speaking of Johnny Thunders and all the early New York punk stuff, the film director Danny Garcia will be on the show. He directed The Rise and Fall of The Clash, Stiv, Looking for Johnny Thunders, Rolling Stone, The Life of Life and Death of Brian Jones. He has a new film out called Nightclubbing, The Birth of Punk Rock in New York City. He will be on. As we move forward and closer to the landmark 250th episode, episode 249 by popular demand. Man, it took me 2 friggin' years to get him. Louis Beto from Carnivore and Agnostic Front will be on the show. This is going to be friggin' great. And then, put your shoes and socks on, kids. It's right around the corner. Episode 250 with Lars from Rancid, the Old Firm Casuals, Oxy's Midnight Runners. That's episode 250. And if you're wondering what's beyond that, episode 252 has been booked. It is the Slicky Boys. Big influence on the DC people. I wanted to get them on. I want to find out what this is all about. So the Slicky Boys on March 29th. There you go. That is what's happening. That said, let me make sure everything's okay in the chat room. Everybody okay? No terrorists. Let's bring our co-host Joel Ghostin back on. And today's guest, Richie Stotts. What's up, man? I banged through it. You know, let's lead off with this, Richie. Can you talk a little bit about your relationship with this guy here and his band?
Joey. I started becoming friends with Joey after the Plasmatics ended, 1983, and he was living not far from where I was living, and we started just talking on the phone, and I think we had a similar sense of humor. I used to have this pickup truck. The 1970, if anybody knows anything about cars, was a 1976 GMC pickup with a 454 in it that had graffiti on it. It was just a big mess. It was stolen one time. I went out to get it one time. It wasn't gone. I went home and I was like so upset. I think I might have cried a little bit that day. And I get a call from this guy around 8:30 and he says, I got your car. But I need some money because these guys want to buy the tires and some kind of convoluted story. I said, where are you? And he was down at the Burger King down on Delancey Street. I went down there. He was all junked out. And I got my car back and I drove him home.
Wow.
So it's a New York story, but he bought air horns for my pickup, which I put on. Joey was a great guy, and we wrote a song called Rock and Roll is the Answer, which is out. It was recorded on a 4-track, and then we ended up redoing it, after he had died. And I knew Joey, and I mentioned Tommy before. He came to our shows, and I wrote a song with Dee Dee too. I got him. Of course, Marky played with me.
Was that Punishment Fits the Crime?
Yeah, Punishment Fits the Crime.
Yeah, on the Brain Drain record. Yeah.
Yeah,
good stuff. Yeah. Wow, you wrote a song with Dee Dee. That must have been an adventure.
It was great. He came over to the house and he goes like this. He says, I don't know where I met him. He'd be walking. I'd meet all these guys, and he says to me like, "What are you doing?" I said, well, stuff. How come you're not writing songs with Joey? I have to write all the songs on the record. I'm sick of it, He's gonna write more songs. I can't do it, And you should be writing speed metal with Joey, And you know how he kind of talked that way. But Dee Dee Ramone was an idiot savant. I mean, seriously, he you just gave him the thing. So he came over to the house one time, and we wrote Punishment Fits the Crime. And I was like, well, shouldn't there be something more going on? He goes, no, this is it and stuff. And then I saw him up at Tompkins Square Park one time walking around. He's like, I said, hey, Dee Dee, is there who's selling weed? Do you know anybody selling weed around here? And I'm looking to meet, I shouldn't say this. I don't know if I can, I'm meeting some girls. Are there any girls around here and stuff? I was just like having coffee in Tompkins Square Park, being normal. And Dee Dee's
you never, I had a couple of you know, run-ins with Dee Dee back in the day, and you know, you never knew what you were gonna get. It was like a box of chocolates. Am I gonna get like the lucid, calm dude, or am I gonna get like the super freaked out guy? You know, it's like you were never sure what you were gonna get. You know,
He was actually the real deal. You ever see movies like, whether they're criminals or bank robbers or rebels and stuff? He was actually that guy, you know?
right?
And yeah, he was great.
Hey, I want to bring a friend of ours on that goes back a bit, and it was a great friend of Wendy's, and I think he spoke at her funeral. I'm talking about Michael Alago. Hey, man.
Hi there.
How are you?
Michael.
Richie, you know, it's so nice to see you. I've been sitting backstage for the last few minutes, and so I don't know how much y'all have talked. I don't know what you've been talking about this whole time, but you know, I've always and still am a fan of your work with the Plasmatics. And I can't believe, and I believe it if you say so, but I can't believe all that stuff happened before 1983, right?
It did.
So I remember CBGB. I remember the Heat.
The Heat Club.
And the reason my right ear doesn't work as good anymore is because you played at Bonds at some point.
That's
so
right.
I get there just as the show's starting. I'm pushing my way through people, and I'm hanging off the stage, and the friggin' marshal is in my right ear, and I stayed there for the whole show. So to this day, when I don't really want to hear what people say or anything, I say, oh, I can't even hear out of this ear. Really? I can't hear? I said, no, the Plasmatics did it to me. I say that proudly.
I'm sorry about that. You know?
Oh, no. Please don't be sorry. It's fantastic. You know, really.
Hey, here's a nice shot of you guys. Where was this taken, Alago?
That was at a party at Arturo Vega.
Arturo's
loft. Now let's see. Let's see. I guess, was he selling Joey Juice, some kind of drink? Or maybe Joey Juice was all the liquor that they were pouring and out that night.
Wow.
Yeah. But that was at Arturo's. I don't know what year that is.
That was the day after the street signing. There's a street.
That's right.
The dedication of Joey Ramone Way on right on the corner of where the loft is, right where the Bowery Electric is.
Right, and it was right around the corner from CBGB's.
That's right.
And they had this. I actually got up to speak. I don't think it went over quite as well. I was trying to do. I had this tape of Joey calling me on the phone, and he was telling me like how it's like how little Steven is calling him up about some kind of like deal that he's going to do Sun City and we're going to get it together. Steven's talking, and Joey thought it was kind of funny, you know, like Steven's calling. Anyway, so I played that tape with him talking. I don't know if it really went over that great, but
you know, that sign on East 2nd Street, Joey Ramone Place, I think it's one of the most, how do you say, stolen.
Really?
Yes, I know this, being that I am a licensed New York City tour guide. The three most stolen signs in New York City are Wall Street, Gay Street, and Joey Ramone Place.
Fabulous. I think that Joey...
I lived on Gay Street for a while.
Oh, yeah, fabulous.
Fabulous.
Yes, of course.
Oh, hey, Alago, or
yes.
Anybody else out there, did you see that Circus of Books documentary on Netflix?
I did.
I just watched it last night. Very, very interesting. I recommend anybody out there on Netflix. A very interesting story about a very straight Jewish family that ran the Circus of Books bookstore in Boys Town on Santa Monica Boulevard. Yeah, which was a super hardcore gay bookstore. Really interesting story. I recommend it.
Yeah.
Anyway,
I'm glad they didn't catch me in the back room there on film.
Mary, please.
Well, Gay Street really is a
right off Christopher.
Yeah.
Like 6th Avenue. Yeah, that Joey Ramone sign, I think it's been stolen like a half a dozen times.
Yeah.
And now it's so high up, I don't think you could steal it if you wanted to, unless you had like a cherry picker or something like that. You know?
Yeah. Well, one thing while the gang's all here that I thought was really great, Richie, was, and it sort of reminded me, Alago, a little bit. I know that you ran the Dead Boys fan club.
Sure.
The Plasmatics had the Secret Service. Hold on. There it is. The Plasmatics fan club was called the Secret Service. Is that right, Rich? And you got a card and everything, right?
Yeah, you got the card. And I remember I used to have a friend that had that card, and you go to like in the old days, you could go to like the clubs. I mean, not like, no, the real clubs, like, dance clubs. And he'd just show that card. He said, I always get in with that card. Go up to some fancy, dance club. I don't know.
Richie, do you have any of those cards?
I have one. And I was just at Chiller Theater, and I signed somebody's card. He hadn't signed it yet. See that little white thing? Yeah. I have one card left.
Oh, cool.
What? I see the PO boxes in Montclair, New Jersey. Who was in Montclair, New Jersey back then?
Who was the person running it?
I think that might have been. We called him. His name was Bob Farina, and he took over the fan club.
Makes sense.
Another, I don't know if I have lost touch with Bob, but I don't know if he's
Alago. Any Wendy O memories before you go? Any nice?
Oh gosh, I love them so much. I remember one day she came up to my office, and I was just kind of in one of those people that it all came out another language when I was near her, because I just loved her and the show so much. But she took off her blouse. She had like this black bra on just to show me her tattoo, the WOW tattoo on her back. And I was in heaven. And I remember one night going to see a performance of hers at the Franklin Furnace. And you got there, and there was like a little house within this big room. And at first you didn't know she was in the house. And then the television went on, like the loudest a television can go on. And then you heard the chainsaw. And then she was inside of it, cutting down that house little by little until the whole thing was on the ground. And that was the performance at the Franklin Furnace way back in the day. I think she passed in April of 1998. And I got to speak at her memorial at CBGB. I wish I could find some of that footage, but it meant a lot to me that Rod Swenson asked me to speak there, and I did. And I, to this day, I think I did a good job. It's so long ago, 1998. I'm sorry. I sometimes don't even know what I did last week. But big fan of the Plasmatics. Love their records, and that's about it, really. Except
I mentioned earlier in the show that Rod Swenson was kind enough to license us a little bit of the Dead Boys footage that we used in our film, where you were literally in the front row dancing to the Dead Boys in 1977.
Sonic Reducer or something. Yes, my
great.
favorite.
Yeah, it is just so great.
Yeah. But so nice to see you, Richie, and
hope to see you around.
Drew will give you my number. I'll give you my number, whatever. But have a great show, and I'll see you soon.
Okay, Michael. Good to see you. Good to see you.
Okay. Love you, Michael. I'll see you on Tuesday. I'll see you on Tuesday when we'll
talk about it after the show as well.
We'll go see. What are we seeing? We're seeing Anthrax,
Black Label Society, Anthrax, and Exodus.
Woo! All right, I'll see you later. All right.
Bye, guys.
Bye. Hey, what's better than that? I'm going to see Exodus, Anthrax, and Black Label Society with Alago. that adds something to it. It's like, it's one thing to go, whatever, but going with Alago kind of like makes it so, all right, this is going to be fun, So there you go. Hey, I want to talk I wanna change gears a little bit, and I want to talk about. Let me get the really good picture. Yeah, let's go with this one, Richie. Let's talk a little bit about King Flux, and let's touch on why did your tenure with the Plasmatics end, and what was the impetus to starting King Flux?
So after the I'm going to make this short, but if you want me to, I can go into it more. But I think some people know this story. After the Coup d'etat record, we went out on tour. I think that so I'm trying to get Alago threw me off. Okay, so we did during the Coup d'etat album, we were touring with Kiss. Okay,
right,
and we had a great time with the band. And after we finished with them, Capitol didn't want to do another Plasmatic record. Okay, so that was sort of definitely a bummer. And there was Gene Simmons had interest of doing another, producing us for the next record, and he had started working with us. And I'm sort of lost with words here. I'm sorry. I'm trying to make this as succinct as I can.
Gene Simmons comes in.
Yeah, he came in, and we're working on stuff. And I felt that, I don't want to bring up negative stuff. I don't want to say anything bad about the whole thing, but I didn't get a good vibe after a while that, like, well, what's going on here? Are we going to do what's the plan here? We're working on stuff, but are we going to record it? So I asked to have a meeting with Gene and Rod, and Gene told me that, we're just not going to do another Plasmatic record. He didn't feel that, he felt that maybe there was a connotation to the band that wasn't good. And by starting something, I'm putting words into his mouth, but this is what I remember, that he wanted to start fresh, and with a Wendy O Williams album that would be kind of maybe like a heavy metal, as he said, a heavy metal Joan Jett record.
Right.
And I said, well, where do I fit in here? And basically, if you want, you can try to be in this band, but it didn't work out. I mean, I had written some songs on that record. They're on that record, Bump and Grind and stuff. I haven't listened to that record in a long time. So Wendy, they did that record, I was devastated. I mean, it was just unbelievable. I mean, I was really devastated, because I kind of felt like everything that I did, it was in that band. I mean, I really gave it a go, and I felt like I felt kind of rotten for a while, and of course I moved forward. It's over with.
Yeah.
But
and then how did this come together?
So what happened was that after,
I'm not sure if this is the original. I know there was a little fluctuation. Not sure if this was the original lineup, but how did this come together?
It's definitely. I think I know how it went, but everybody has their. So what happened was I was talking to Jean Bouvard, and John, and I always got along really great with John. And John's been always very supportive and of what I did. And so we started writing. He said, well, why don't we write some songs together, do a demo? So we wrote a couple of songs. We did a demo. It sounded great. Michael Alago knows this story. But John had some other commitment with Little Steven, and he had to go play with Little Steven. So I had to scramble a little bit and put a band together around the demo that I made with John. And so I put another band together, and I knew Billy Hilfiger, who had worked up at the a record store, and his brother Andy, and they were bass guitar combo that, you know, we could get going. Tony Petrie brought him back into the fold, and we got a lead singer, and due to some of the songs that I wrote with John and do some new songs. And it was just coincidence, or not coincidence, but it was just timing that Billy and Andy's brother, Tommy, was putting his clothing empire together.
Right.
And I'm still, Billy, unfortunately, it's so sad. Billy died a while back from brain cancer. Andy's still around. There's Tony back there from Twisted Sister on the behind Andy's head. Billy's with the blonde hair.
Andy, I remember.
Yeah.
Andy. Yeah.
And Andy and I are like, we're good friends, and there's sometimes we actually have talk about like, oh, let's do another King Flux stuff. But I was talking to a good friend of mine yesterday, and his name is Mark Newman. I think you know him.
Well, yeah, Mark Newman we know because he was in Sheer Terror.
Yeah, so
which is a little side note. You played on a Sheer Terror.
Yeah, I did. Yeah.
But go on.
And Mark said something really nice to me. We went out and had a beer, and we live right next to each other. We never see each other because of the COVID and all this. So we've been meaning to get together. So we went out had a beer, and Mark said a nice thing. He just said like, well, I think King Flux was kind of like a continuation for you of Coup d'etat. The next step. And I mean, but that was a nice way of putting it. And we really did well. We were playing the Cat Club. We had a lot of stuff going on.
I have that. I have that. I'm sorry. This is worth interrupting for because I found this. Yeah. This is just.
I got my King Flux button on here.
Yeah, I saw that. I have this great sort of Cat Club invite.
Yeah. We had
great.
It was a different thing. We had Mark came into the band, Marky Bell. I remember Joey. I don't know how he got Marky, but Marky was looking for a band, and it just worked out. I think Mark worked great with the band. I mean, first we had Tony Petrie, but Tony Petrie, I love him, but it didn't work out. Then we got Mark, and Mark was great, and we were really doing great. And some people say, well, what happened with it? And, I think I made some mistakes in the band. Like there was some record offers, and I felt like I was shooting a little too high. And this is I wasn't used to doing managing and putting the band together. I had a friend of mine, Clark Kruger, helping me out. But, this is something like where Rod was doing all the work,
sure.
During the Plasmatics. He was doing all that stuff behind the scenes. And, it looks easy. We're running around stage, but there was a lot of hard work to do. And anybody that has a band, there's a lot of things to put together. There's writing songs, promotion, money, keeping everybody on board, it's just the right thing. So I think it kind of fell apart just by its own weight, and there was no fight, but it just didn't happen. I mean, it didn't take it to the next step, which was unfortunate. And I think, maybe I made some mistake. Oh, where's that? I don't know where that is.
I know. I came across this one, so it looks like it's out of a magazine.
Yeah, I think we went out to somebody's roof and stuff.
Yeah.
Oh, there's Petrie. That's Petrie, though. That's Petrie.
Right. But, also I think it was an interesting time in the music business, this era. There's things were shifting.
Yeah.
There was a lot of shifting going on.
The metal thing was coming, and it was kind of hard to fight it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So you're kind of going with it, and let's see. And Billy and Andy were more like rock and roll, and Tony was like a real rock star from Twisted Sister. He was like, they were like limos and everything. We were just never like that type of band in the Plasmatics. At least I wasn't. Yeah. But anyway, King Flux was a great band. I wish we could.
I gotta say, doing my homework, the Man with the X-Ray Eyes.
Yeah.
Great track, man. I mean, like,
thank you.
I mean that. I really enjoyed it. It's a really good track, man.
Yeah,
it wasn't what I was expecting. I was like, wow, this is just damn good, you know.
Well, see, that's where the King Flux thing gets a little confusing, because the King Flux, we kind of ended it, and then I decided to give it one more shot and kind of go solo. And The Man with the X-Ray Eyes is a song that I reworked, and it became The Man with the X-Ray. Daniel Ray produced that. And Albert. And one thing I worked with a lot of really good drummers, like from Stu and Neil and Tony Petrie and Marky Ramone and Albert is on. Albert Bouchard from Blue Oyster Cult's on here.
Sure.
And Chris Romanelli played bass.
So this promo shot, which I absolutely remember from that era, you know, like, because this image was around a lot. Correct me if I'm wrong, but this is the cemetery that's where they shot the Godfather scene. It's the one near the it's in Brooklyn Queens border. It's
it's like, look, okay, if you're
where
coming
the Kosciuszko, it's where the Kosciuszko Bridge is. Yeah,
the Midtown Tunnel right there.
That's right. That's the graveyard.
Yeah,
from the scene in The Godfather when they're burying Don Corleone and Michael's sitting there, and you know they have that scene. It's that, and they say, you know, I always thought it would be Tessio, you know, and like that's a graveyard that, you know. Okay, thank you. Well, you're not even from New York. How do you know that? Cavalry Cemetery.
Oh well, Quick Silver Messenger Service had a song called Calvary, but you know that from the, you know, my mother. Well, Calvary. It's something to do with the Bible. I'm not quite sure.
Yeah,
but the New Testament, I think. That George Debose did that photo. I don't know if you know George Debose, but I should give him if he did that photo. It's a great photo.
Yeah, it's a beautiful shot. That said, hey Joel.
Hey there. Sorry about that.
It's okay.
Unexpected technical difficulties.
Yeah. Richie, I saw that. Here's a nice shot. You know, being we're sort of a hardcore themed show. I like the shot, the Richie Stotts shot wearing the Cro-Mag shirt.
Yeah.
Did you like
Death camps,
right? Did you cross, like, in that era? Did any particular bands, hardcore bands that you recall that you saw? Obviously, you know, you enjoyed the Cro-Mags. Anything from that era that came across kind of like your screen?
Death Camps, that song is just see, that's a song that has the excitement that I just love, whether it's Motorhead or that song just kicks.
Yep.
I mean, Jimmy Gestapo, barbecue. Damn. I just love that band.
By the way,
Bad Brains.
I talked to Jimmy G yesterday. I told him you were coming on the show. He said, love that guy. He just said, oh, it's a great guy right there, you know?
Yeah. And I mean, Sheer Terror.
Bad Brains, you saw the Bad Brains back then too?
Oh yeah. That song, I still play that song, you know, where he's singing through from jail and stuff.
Sacred Love.
Sacred Love. That song is so amazing. You know, I mean, so, but like, I always was a little like they used to have, like, it was right down the block. They had the hardcore matinees and stuff.
Of course.
And I was a little gun shy to go down there and hang out and stuff because, you know, I didn't want like somebody beating me up or something.
Mm-hmm. Like that. Joel, you got anything on King Flux?
Well, I apologize. I missed a little bit of the conversation. I have some internet issues that came out of the sky, out of nowhere. So, but I know, Richie, during that time, the King Flux era, you worked with Albert Bouchard from Blue Oyster Cult as well. Did you guys already touch on that?
A little bit, but we could, we could touch on it again.
Yeah. Albert recorded. I did. Man with the X-Ray Eyes, and I think I did 4 songs. I have 4 songs from that.
Is that this? I came across. This looks like some sort of a CD. This is the back of looks like a CD release. Richie Stotts. Yeah.
So the first 4 songs on there, yes, that's with Albert, and I got a good version of "Come On Everybody" too. That's the good one.
It looks like Jean co-wrote a couple of these with you too.
Yeah. Then after "Come On Everybody," that's the Beauvoir period, you know. And then "Reign of the Insane" is like one of my favorites. But that was recorded like on basically a Tascam 4-track, you know.
Hey, you know, an old friend of mine, I think was in the original lineup, Tommy Lafferty.
Well, the thing with Tommy is Tommy came by for the photos of King Flux.
I came for the photos. I didn't play on anything.
John is very close. John Beauvoir is very close to Tommy, and he was going to be the next guitar player with Beauvoir, but then Beauvoir goes away, so I never really played with Tommy.
Ah, is that right? You know, Beauvoir and Tommy ended up. Beauvoir started Crown of Thorns,
right?
And, you know, and then they had Voodoo X, and and then Tommy ended up in a band called From the Fire, who was on the same label that the band I was in, Antidote, was on. So we were sort of label mates.
Okay.
You know, on Metropolis Records. So, and our paths crossed quite a bit due to my childhood, my oldest friend, my childhood friend, Mark Levine, who was involved with that label. So yeah, Tommy, there's a connection there with Jean.
Okay.
I mean, Jean's a guy that's had an incredible career too, man. He's done a lot, man.
Yeah. I talk, you know, I kind of keep in touch with everybody. I spoke with him maybe like a year ago, you know, and stuff.
Here's a story. Lou sent this to me. Interestingly enough, because I was saying Alago, we're going to see Anthrax and Exodus. Here's Anthrax, Exodus, and King Flux at the. This is the
Rock Hotel.
At the what's now Webster Hall, which is the Ritz, the original Ritz down there. Yeah. Yep.
Right. Yep. A friend of mine. I have a friend out in L.A. He sent me the same thing. He says, "Do you have this poster?" Yep.
Absolutely. Let me see what else I got with. But yeah, this is, and then I guess this is probably a little bit later. I posted this before. Was King Flux at Studio 54, the Studio 54 Ritz?
That's correct. That's correct.
I remember this. This was a big show. I remember this.
Yep. That was a great place to play.
Yeah. Yeah. I was in there a while back. It's like a theater again, you know, it's like a Broadway theater again. You know?
I have a friend that's I did some work up there. His name is Joe Bravey, and he has he has a company that does, you know, artistic renovations and stuff.
Hey, let's do this, fellas. Let me take my last and brief sponsor break, and let's come back and we'll take questions from around the world. All right.
Okay.
All right.
Okay. I have one thing I want to say. We could do it when we come back from the break.
Yep. Absolutely.
Okay.
I'll see you in a minute.
Okay.
Well, there you have it. This is the one, the only, often imitated, never duplicated New York Hardcore Chronicles Live. And we are sponsored by Upstate Records, New York Hardcore Comics, The Organic Grill, Texas Silver Rush, DTFM Vinyl Distro, Generation Records, and 126 Hardcore Clothing. It's a streetwear brand for restless individuals who don't compromise. They're about being positive, spontaneous, and true to yourself. For years, they experimented with several printing methods and materials and collaborated with a large number of designers and illustrators, always giving room for fresh perspectives while retaining the hardcore attitude. Get in touch with them. Ramp up your game at www.126hardcoreclothing.com. Come on now, DTFM Vinyl Distro. Looking for extreme music? DTFM Vinyl has got you. Located on 13th Ave in Fargo, North Dakota, we have the state's best selection of punk, hardcore, metal, ska, oi, and more. Can't make it in? Shop online from anywhere in the country at www.dtfmvinyldistro.com. DTFM Vinyl, where the policy still is and always will be death to false metal. Hey, I want to mention a couple of the shows we have up at the Bowery Electric. Let me clear the deck. What the heck? Yeah, coming up pretty soon. A big banger here. Shutdown. Kings Never Die. Incendiary Device. It's going to jump off tonight. End of Hope and India Vid. Free all ages matinee. You know, we're talking about the old matinees, CD matinees. These things we have going on are in that spirit. Come by. They're all ages. They're free. They're incredible. Sunday, March 5th, two-man advantage. First show in 5 years with Enziguri. Fuck it, I quit. Non-residents and Iconicide. And Sunday, April 30th, Go. First New York show in 12 years. Crazy Eddie, Down Low, Crippled Urn, and Chum Huffer. So there you go. Lots going on. What else? Was there something? Oh, one, just real quick again. Hey, listen, support the show. What can I tell you? You enjoy the show, support the show. There's a Patreon page right there, www.patreon.com/Drew Stone. I want to thank a couple of my new patrons, Andrew Zito, Eric Delasio, Louis Zaretsky, Lex 2000, and you, James. You people make this happen. Seriously. Also, there is a super chat function. We are doing questions from around the world with our guest, Richie Stotts. There's a super chat function for a couple of bucks. Please, if you could do it, if you can afford it. The question comes through in color. I can't miss it. You go to the front of the line. That said, do I got everything else? Oh, you know what I got to mention? This is the 40 years of Channel 3. This record is coming out, and they're coming to New York to play. We're doing a show at not the Bowery Electric. It is a free all-ages matinee at Berlin, and that's happening April 2nd, and a bunch of our favorite bands are playing. So keep an eye out for that. We're getting the flyer together. Channel 3, 40th anniversary, free show. If it's free, it's for me here in New York City. That said, I think everybody else join Patreon for $2. You want me to lend you $2 so you can join Patreon? Seriously. That said, let's see. Yeah, it's coming up. Yes, Sean Brennan. Hey, yeah, we're playing it too, Sean. So just a heads up. That said, let's see. Questions from around the world. I know people have posted throughout the show. A couple people have grumbled that we've been ignoring them. We don't ignore them. But you know what? It's time now. Repost them. And let's do it. Let's bring on our co-host, Joel Ghostin, and our guest, Mr. Richie Stotts. Yeah. Let's see. What do we got here? Oh, you know what? John Coletti. Good. I'm glad you... I got this from John Coletti, actually. He sent this to me the other day. I have a visual to go with this. This is a Plasmatic stub from the left bank in Mount Vernon, New Jersey. And he says, hi, big fan. Hi, Richie, Drew, Joel. A few questions. Well, let's not get crazy. For Richie, I saw them play with the Plasmatics and still have my tickets at bars in New York, Detroit's in Portchester, New York, and Left Bank in Mount Vernon, New York, pre-'80s, more than once, both places. And one night he played Detroit's in Portchester. I don't recall who they opened for. Maybe Richie remembers. It seems like a fuzzy dream to me with Debbie Harry's first band, without Debbie Harry singing, called the Stilettos, and Sheena Chrome was in the band. Interesting enough. And any recollections of these kind of like doing these, like the Left Bank in Vernon, New Jersey, anything like that?
One thing we did do with the Plasmatics, going way back to what I was talking about postering, is that we were out playing in New Jersey. Like some of the bands in New York, well, they would just play New York. Well, we were out kind of like learning, getting our act together or trying new stuff out, playing in New Jersey, upstate New York, and Long Island. Now, I remember playing the Left Bank. I remember there was one club. They were crazy clubs. I remember one club. there was a bar in front of the stage, and I remember running down the bar and knocking all the beer cans off the bar and start playing the guitar and stuff. It was like crazy, but I do not remember who was opening at Dorchester because we were getting ready to get on the stage and all sorts of stuff. So I never was the type of person to be listening to the opening band or anything like that. Because we never had any time,
right,
to get our crap together.
This kind of plays in. Kevin asks, Richie, favorite place to play outside of New York? Were there any, you guys went out on the road a bunch of times. Were there any places that were like bastions of support for Plasmatics that you like, oh wow, we're playing here. This is great, can't wait.
I have to, okay. I remember going out to LA and Rod was like, we would have this, we would have this thing like how many people you think we're going to have, we make a guess, and he got me into guessing crowd size and stuff. So we're going out to California for the first time. First show was in San Francisco. And he says, where are we going to be bigger, LA or San Francisco? And Bill Graham was at our San Francisco show. I said it's going to be LA. So we went we did pretty well at San Francisco, but LA was, I really think they got it. They got us there.
Sure.
Like in New York, we had like the Village Voice, I don't know, let's just say ignoring us and probably hated us. And I know they did, but when we went out to New York, it was out to LA, it was just great. They just San Antonio is another great town that I love. Minneapolis, but LA, unfortunately, what do you call it? What was the famous club with the whiskey? The whiskey was great.
Of course.
Just loved the whiskey and Perkins. Yeah. So I really liked LA and
right on. So good. Here's one from our friend and supporter, Anthony Mio, original Biohazard drummer and Patreon supporter. Hello, Richie, big fan. How did TC Tolliver come into the Plasmatics?
After we did a tour, after the Metal Priestess tour, we had some issues with our drummer, Joey Reese, and Joey Reese left, and we were working with Dan Hartman. Let's put it this way. We needed, the consensus was we needed, no knock on Joey, but we needed to get a different type of drummer, a different style. And we put auditions up and TC auditioned for a band and TC was in the band. He was great. I love TC. He's like, he's like one of my, true friends.
Yeah.
And great drummer.
These are good questions, man. I like this one too, Roman. We'll go with this. What did Wendy Williams listen to? Like, what music did she really? What did she listen to? What were some? If what were some of her favorites? Like, if you remember.
I like the relationship with, it kind of goes back to my relationship with Wendy. Okay. The band, our band, like the band was separate pretty much. There was Rod and Wendy. They would travel together. If they went to LA, they stayed at their own hotel. Sure. And like we had all the fun, you know what I mean? We were in the van or the Winnebago and we did all that stuff. And, I think, maybe Wendy kind of missed out on some stuff, but that was her thing. So it wasn't like we were sitting around listening to a lot of music, but like, for instance, like when Wendy was working on a record, like working with Dan Hartman and like Gene Simmons and stuff like that, they would get her listening to, different stuff. And I don't want to speak for her, but I didn't really listen to too much music with Wendy.
Fair enough. This is interesting. Richie, did Wendy write any or all of the lyrics along with Rod Swenson? I mean, would you know that? I mean, it seemed like there was a collaboration there, right?
Not that I know of. No, Rod wrote the lyrics and pretty much, yeah. as far as I know, no.
Okay. Let's see what else we got.
I mean, they might have been like kind of collaborating, like without me knowing it, but it's like Butcher Baby. Like, I think when that song came out, I was like, okay, there was a couple songs. Like I'd be like writing the lyrics, working with Butcher Baby, and I'd be going, okay, the lyrics go here. Oh yeah, oh no. And then all of a sudden they're in the song, So maybe Wendy kind of did the same thing. I don't know.
It's a good question. Are the live songs on the B side of the Butcher Baby single actually live, or is it just crowd sounds added to the background of an outtake?
Are we talking about, if he's talking about Master Plan, I'd have to know what song, Stefan, I'd have to really know which song you're talking about. But if it's the live songs, like live from Milan, right? We had just came back from Europe. We put live from Milan, but they were not live from Milan. Because that's the whole thing of the band. We kind of like had fun doing stuff like that.
Right.
Yeah. So no, the live from Milan is not live. If that's what you're asking.
Yeah. Funny, I just listened to that too, and I was like, Milan of all places, huh?
Yeah. And I think it goes Plasmatics. Yeah.
Here's one from one of our resident historians, Chucky Brown from the band Crazy Eddie. Can he speak on the inside joke of quote unquote John Rockwell? I believe he was a New York Times reviewer, and they had a roadie of the same name who would play the violin while they played this song Butcher Baby.
Oh, I can answer that. We had these posters, right? And we would have, Charles Young from Rolling Stones, incredible, and somebody else, blah, blah, blah. And then we had incredible band, John Rockwell, not of the New York Times. It was an inside joke. So John Rockwell was a guy that got up on stage with a black hood, and I don't know what he had, a violin, or came up and just screwed around. It wasn't really plugged in. But John Rockwell was an actual person that worked for us, did the lighting, and substituted by jumping up on the stage once in a while. And that was something that Rod came up with, or somebody else came up with, that there was a quote, John Rockwell, not of the New York Times, because there was really a reviewer named John Rockwell of the New York Times, who, of course, would just hate us. You know what I mean? They're going to hate us at the New York Times.
Yeah, right. Who did Larry the Hunter, our buddy? Who did the Plasmatics logo? Iconic.
The first one, Rod did with the I think he just did that Plasmatics. He did the first one, and I'm not sure who did the metal, the Coup d'etat one. I'm not sure who did that.
Is this which one is this here? I mean, there was a couple of them that were really this is
too basic. The first one,
there's this one, right?
That's the first one, which there was many different variations of,
right? Mm-hmm.
With different colors and
sure.
I don't want to give it away, but I saw how he did that. He just put tape. He just did that, and he put some tape across there, and then some kind. I don't know, whatever.
Yes, it's kind of great.
It was great.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's see.
So Rod Swenson did the first logo, that logo. I'm not sure who did the Coup d'etat logo.
Yeah. I sort of know the answer to this, but I think this is something that's sort of worth addressing a little bit.
Yeah.
A friend Leanna says, here's something I've always wondered. Did the cops really beat up Wendy, or was that a publicity stunt? I think it was in the Midwest, and there was a big legal fundraiser. I'm assuming she's talking about the Milwaukee incident here.
Yeah. The Milwaukee incident was an unfortunate thing that happened. Wendy, it was in Milwaukee. I'm not sure, she was like simulating masturbation with a sledgehammer or a microphone. I can't remember. And after that, the Vice Squad came in.
Yeah.
And took Rod and Wendy, said, we got to arrest you. and so we stayed back. But when they took her out, when they took them out in the parking lot, things went bad. Either they grabbed Wendy or pushed Wendy, or it's all foggy what happened. But there was definitely an altercation that led to Wendy getting pushed down on the ground on the ice, get hit a few times, and Swenson got knocked down, and I think even Bouvard, and there was 4 people went to jail that night. And so it was true. Wendy did get beat up. It was not a publicity stunt. Although yes, there was a fundraiser for that at Bonds, but yes, she didn't know that was a real serious thing.
And it seemed to me, doing my research, they had to go through the whole legal, rigmarole, and in the end, the charges were dropped.
Yeah, we actually went back out there. The whole band went back out there for the trial, which lasted a couple of days. We were in court. I mean, I wasn't on trial, but Wendy was, and I think it was. I think actually it was Rod and maybe Bouvard and Pete Pyro Pete, but nothing ever happened to it. It was really it was just an overreaction. But I'll say this: after, like I said, they were brought out into the parking lot. But what was scary was when we came off stage, because we were down backstage or whatever.
Sure.
The whole place was filled with riot police. So they were expecting something.
They wanted trouble and they got it.
Yeah, it was just too. Come on, it's like nowadays. It's like I remember when I went back. I don't want to make this analogy, but I remember going back to high school, and I remember the school monitor, Mrs. Phillips, said to me, "God, I wish you guys were here now. Like we have so much problems." It's like that was nothing compared to we were mass shootings that are happening now.
Yeah, and yeah, it almost reminds me of the Jim Morrison, Miami incident. Like you look back and you're like, huh? Really? I think there's a correlation between, sort of like Jim Morrison and Wendy O. Williams. They're the same in a way. They're like, I think there's a lineage there. As far as performance goes.
Right, and then people, okay, you read these reviews. Oh, Madonna, blazed a way through. Did all this stuff. Well, she was she's still doing this whatever she's doing, and I love McDonald. I love Madonna, but Wendy was way ahead of the game with that stuff.
Yeah, and here's a little bit more of that clip. Of you guys, and this is to me in a lot of ways, this is the pinnacle of this was when you guys were doing it. This was that was
great.
You guys were really firing on all cylinders here. Oh yeah. Man, you love those flying V's, huh? Those Gibson flying V's.
I got all sorts of. I broke them. All those flying V's got busted, and then I got this. I got these new ones upstairs, and they're like indestructible. I had them made, but I don't know what to do with them. Hey, I just want to say this.
Yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Okay. Throw something in quick.
Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, what happened?
Go ahead.
Am I cutting out?
No, you're good. We'll see what happens. Hold on. Can you see me?
Can you hear?
Well, there you go. He knows he'll sign off and sign back on. We'll take a couple more questions. Let me see if I can get him back. Yeah, I just kicked him from the studio, so he'll sign back on. We'll get him back in a minute. But yeah, we'll do a bit more. And how can we stop now? This is just a great show. And yeah, Chucky Brown, we got to ask him about his cameo in 9.5 Weeks with Mickey Rourke and Kim Basinger. Absolutely. Where are these questions coming from? Facebook and YouTube, I believe, right? That said, God, we could have done 2 shows with him. That would have been the move. We could have done 2 shows with him. Just waiting for him to sign back on. Yeah, YouTube, is that right? YouTube. I think you could do Facebook too. I think you can get in the comments in Facebook.
Oh, I don't know if you want me.
Hey, man, there you are.
Yeah, sorry.
But we knew what to do. So, who do you want to say something?
Yeah, I got it. What? Pardon?
Go ahead.
I just want to say this. Quick thing is that I'm part of this MC5 tribute album coming out, and it's going to be a great bunch of people on the record. Wayne Kramer from the MC5 is organizing this, and all funds are going to I actually wrote this down. All funds are going to go to proceeds for prisoners in jail and mentorship for prisoners in jail. And Alice Cooper's going to be on it, Jello Biafra, Phil Campbell from Motorhead, Wayne Kramer, Terry Curry, Jim Smith from the Hickoids is singing on the track I'm doing. I play on one track, and Kim Thale from Soundgarden. So it's going to be a lot of people.
Right on. I mean, that sort of plays into the question of, we've talked before, and you're sort of Hey, Joel, you back with us?
Back.
All right, and he's back. Richie, I know you kind of told me that you're sort of reacclimating yourself to doing music again. Any plans for the future beyond what you just told us, and how does it feel to sort of be reacclimating yourself?
It's great. I after King Flux, I went back to school. I think some people know this, and I was involved in technology, which I love doing. I mean, it was a whole nother world, but I feel like I just did Chiller Theater, which is like a convention where you meet people and sign stuff and all that stuff. I met like Boris Karloff's daughter and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But and I'm going to do another one in Arizona, Mad Monster. But I definitely want to do some more stuff, and I'm not sure how that's going to come out. But I'm reacquainting myself with people I used to know. I'm meeting some new people, and I don't know if there's any life left here for me, but I think there's a little bit, and I want to do some stuff. And I know there's so many great fans, and they've asked me to do some stuff, and I hopefully I'll get some stuff. And of course, Carl upstairs, my wife, Carl Lothar, is a great singer. She's got a couple of records out, and I've done some work with her. Of course, it's not
I got it. Okay. Hold on, there it is.
Yeah. So she did some great stuff, and she's a great musician, and we really need to do some stuff. But as far as rock and roll stuff, I want to do some more stuff, and I'm not sure how to go about it yet. But the Wayne Kramer thing, I play a great solo on a song we did a song called "Baby Won't You" by the MC5, and the guys on the band, Joey Killingsworth and the Josephus is the name of the band. It's a mouthful. Josephus and the George Jonestown Massacre is sort of the house. Is sort of the house band on this record, and they're great, and this guy Jim Smith from the Hickoids sings on the record. So it's going to be. I think at least that track came out good, and it's great. So
here's Danny Chaos. Hi Richie, this is Danny from Upstate. I don't have any questions I can think of now, but I just wanted to say thank you for lots of great music and memories. You and Carla are the best.
Thank you, Danny. Thank you so much. It means a lot. You know, it means so much, like to hear from the people, from the band, and the Plasmatics fans are a great bunch of people.
Man,
you know, they're not like, you know, they've always been there, and you know, I kind of miss the whole thing a lot.
You know, I've done a lot of shows. I've worked with a lot of people over the years. I got to say that in gearing up for this show, I heard from some Plasmatics fans, and they are a passionate bunch. And, you know, they just really, really just, you know, love the music you created with Wendy, you know, and they're just incredibly enthusiastic that you were coming on the show. And this has been a really, really, really great time. Joel, you got anything for Richie?
Yeah, well, first of all, I apologize for all the tech issues.
It happens.
My phone app and my laptop both went out internet, so there's something going on with the weather up here. It's New England in January, so we get what we get. So my apologies for that. And I apologize that this was brought up already. I missed a little bit, but did you guys talk about 9.5 weeks, Richie?
No, we actually did not. I mentioned it a little while ago. Where's Chucky? Chucky mentioned it as well. Hold on, let me find that. I have it here somewhere. Ask about. Here it is. A cool clip of Richie in a quick cameo in the 1986 film 9.5 Weeks with Mickey Rourke and Kim Basinger. Richie, any perspective on that?
Oh, I just I had a friend. Actually, I think it was Jean Bouvard. His a friend that was an agent, and she knew who I was, and she was like, "Tell Richie to give me a call. I think I could get him in some, like, you know, something, you know, commercials or whatever." And I was like, "Okay, I'll do it." And so I was asked to do. Yeah, I just did an, you know, you go see. They call him a go see.
A go see, yeah.
Yeah, you go see. You know, like I did a bunch. I actually did a bunch of go sees, you know, for commercials. There was some other stuff. But I landed the 9.5 weeks gig, and Ron Wood was there. That was cool. He was out in the limo with his girlfriend the whole time. It took like the whole day to do that thing, and it was just downtown, down Soho, and
cool.
But Mickey Rourke was there, and Kim Basinger. And,
yeah, we're big fans. We're big fans of Mickey Rourke. We love him.
And
we to this day he brings us constant joy and amusement. We love that guy.
Yeah, and you know what's great? You know, like I always like kind of like a jokester, you know. So I'll be like, "What's that guy? That famous director that did, you know, whatever his name is."
Give me a clue.
He did.
What movie did he
do?
do?
Alien, the first Alien.
You're talking Ridley Scott?
Yeah, Ridley Scott. He was the director, you know. So like if I'm like
Ridley Scott directed that, huh?
Yeah. So like if I'm like hanging out with like some of my like uptown friends or something, and they're like, "Oh yeah, we saw this movie." I said, "Yeah, I worked with Ridley, you know, on something, you know." Like,
yeah.
Or like they think I'm bullshitting, you know. Then they find out like, you know, "Oh no, he's really for real." Then who is this guy, you know?
Yeah, he's directed some bangers, including Gladiator, Thelma and Louise, Alien. You know, he's like, Chucky asks again. Can you please ask, did you see Miley Cyrus performing with the Plasmatic shirt on the Howard Stern show?
No, I didn't.
Yeah, I saw her performing with a Plasmatic shirt. Yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
Wrecking Ball. Yeah, I love that song, Wrecking Ball.
I do too. I'm a fan of hers.
I know. Come on, you gotta get.
I think I'm a fan.
Yeah.
Let's see. You know, is this the last photo I have? Is this the stage prop that ended up in that that you were talking about recently? The pentagram?
That's it. That's the. I'm putting by my glasses.
Now,
yeah.
is this the Kiss tour? I'm assuming this big stage. Would this be the Kiss tour?
I think it is the Kiss tour. Yeah. Yeah. That's the Coup d'etat Kiss tour.
Yeah. How was that doing arenas with Kiss? Was it an enjoyable run?
Yeah, I remember when we were doing sound check and these guys come on with black hair and stuff. It's it's Kiss and Gene walks off to me and shakes his hand like he goes, "Welcome aboard." It was pretty cool. I mean, they were actually very, very nice people. Gene Simmons and Paul are both. I mean, you might going back to the end of the band. Gene did his thing, but he's a smart guy. He's a businessman. I have a lot of respect for him.
Yeah.
But he tells it like it is. Let me put it this way: he tells it like it is.
Yeah, he does.
And as what it is not always right. I told Gene one time, and we were outside Electric Ladyland on 8th Street, right? And he's coming down the street. I think it was with Paul, and I said, "Hi, how's it going?" like that. And he starts telling me like, "Punk never sells, doesn't sell. That's why we're changing." I says, "Yeah, well, Gene, like McDonald's sells, and is that any good?" Yeah. And like, I don't think he's really quick-witted. You got to be like, yeah. And I'm kind of like a little slow on the draw with that type of stuff. But I got him that time. Yeah. Well, maybe I didn't. And he probably. Well,
that's sort of the age-old sort of thing that you hear. Punk, it doesn't sell. Well, yeah.
Yes.
Good.
Exactly. Great. But I'll tell you, when I saw those guys, he does this bass solo. Kiss fans know this.
Sure.
It's unbelievable.
Yeah.
It's everything that I would want to, really want. It's like all feedback and fire and
yeah. He's a smart guy, man. I'd love to have a chat with him. Leanna mentions this is funny because my girlfriend brought this up, and we watched some of this today. Reform School Girls. She said, "You ever see that movie Reform School Girls?" With I said, "No, I vaguely remember it." And we piped it in a little bit, and I was like, "Wow, this is crazy." This is wild. All the gals saw it. What's up, Lori Dawn? Women of the Pit represent. Our last question. Andrew Steele asks, Richie, is there any unreleased Plasmatic songs that you have or that are out there?
Well, not that I know of. I mean, well, yes. Well, there's a lot of songs that we kind of made demos at the studio that probably will never be released. I think the Coup de Grace album has Uniform Guards on it, and that didn't make the Coup d'etat. That didn't make the cut there. And
that's the demo that Dan Hartman did at Electric Ladyland.
Right. There's a song there, Uniform Guards. Well, it is released, so that doesn't answer that person's question. But going back to the early days, I think there's nothing I don't think there's anything that's going to be released that I know of. And that wouldn't be a question for me. That would be a question for Rod Swenson and the management of the Plasmatics, whatever they have.
Sure. Here's a little something from our good friend Scott Helland, Guitar Me of One, who's in the Outpatients. Plasmatics were a huge part of my teenage years. Love those records. New Hope was one of the first records I bought. Met Richie in the late 80s at the Music Building, the infamous Music Building that I lived in with School of Violence. Yeah, remember that? Remember the Music Building? Oof.
Yeah, Stag, my friend. This
Stag.
This T-shirt I have.
He was in the band with Stag, right?
Yes, this is his. It says Kill City Shoppers. My T-shirt. Yeah. He had he went out to California and he had a motorcycle place. He wrenches out in LA or whatever. Yeah, he's out in Seattle now. He's a great guy, but School of Violence, we rehearsed with that band, School of Violence.
Yeah. Well, hey, that was a great show. And I want to thank you so much, Richie. Joel, you have anything as we wrap it up for Richie?
Well, I just want to say, Richie, it's always fantastic spending time with you and chatting with you. And I'm just so happy you and I reconnected late last year after 20 years, and it's led to this and hopefully many more opportunities like this. So it's always a great pleasure, Richie, and I'm glad you're doing well. And it's been an honor having you on the show and being a part of this. So thank you.
Okay, great. And that like your show is just something I'm just learning about now. I watched your show a couple of weeks. It's a great format. Thank you so much, Drew and Joel, for having me on. It means a lot. And hopefully, I can get back into this big world of all these different people that you're mentioning and stuff like that somehow. But thank you for having me on. It means a lot. And thank you so much to the Plasmatic fans that are out there. It really means a lot. And I've already said that, but thank you.
Absolutely, Richie, and I do it because I love it. And having a guest like you on just really, it's fantastic for me. I really enjoyed having you on and interacting with you, even in the pre-show stuff. So let's keep in touch, and you have a home, and you're always welcome back here.
Okay. Man. Oh, Jimmy Reed is the blues guy that I.
Jimmy Reed.
Okay.
Is that what your wife said? She reminded you, right? Yeah.
I know. I went upstairs and she says, I somehow I figured it out. Jimmy Reed.
Sure. And Carla, thank you so much, Carla, for sort of for hovering, on the peripheral here and helping us with the show. Thank you so much, Richie. We'll talk to you soon, man.
Okay.
All right. Take care.
Bye.
All right. Bye-bye. Man, that was great.
Wow.
Wowee. Man, I'm just like, boy, I'm on cloud nine, man.
Man, we could have done a part 2,
I know, right? I mean, you always say that, but it's like hard to say, hey man, I want to bring you on the show. Let's do it in 2 parts. It'd be like, But it was, hey, John Coletti, thank you, bro. Appreciate it. A lot of great. Yeah, we hope he does music again soon. I might have to ask him to come out and do a couple songs with us next time we play.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, that was great. What are we gonna do next together, man? I love when you come on with me, man.
Well, oddly enough, I can't say it live right now, but during the first segment of today's episode, I got a text regarding a future guest that you and I have been trying to get.
Okay, good.
So there's a little bit of news on that. I'll send it to you. But I'll tell you what, man, I am always happy to do it. And again, the tech issues bothered me, but it is what it is. And
we'll fine tune it. We'll get there. And I love having you on. You're extremely knowledgeable in these matters, and you have a different perspective. About it. So yeah, we'll talk some more, and we'll come back and co-host again. I know we have a couple of people in the hopper that we're trying to get, so we'll talk off the record pretty soon.
Right on. Thank you so much, Drew. Thank you everybody who tuned in today, and till next time, be well.
Okay, take care.
You too.
Well, there you have it. God damn, that was a great show. Woo! Hey, Scott Helen, yeah, man, for sure. Damn. Woo! Bam. Yes. Negative approach. Listen, we'll get John Brandon on the show eventually. Hey, John Biv. Hey, man. Thank you. Pembroke in the house. You guys got to come down and play the Bowery Electric. Thank you. Wow. What's better than when you do a great show and then you see like a lot of your peers that you respect out there enjoyed it as well. So. Thank you so much. Larry the Hunter, we're playing with you pretty soon, right? It's going down. It's going down right here on February 12th, excuse me. Man, I hope I get back from Florida. My film is screening in Florida the night before. I'm on a 6:30 a.m. flight back to New York to play this show. So let's hope it all works out, That said, I think we're good. I'm heading down to the organic grill. There's a acoustic show down there tonight, and I'm going to see. That's right. Now I get to go down to the organic grill. Yep, absolutely. Yes, Ramon, it was great. And please listen. I know I say it a lot. I've got to say it again. It's how this whole thing works. I can't do it without your support. If you enjoy the show, please join Patreon or please make a PayPal contribution. You know, literally, this is a big part of my livelihood. This is what I do. Some people are plumbers. Some people are, you know, electricians. I'm an artist, and this is what I do, and this is how I pay my rent and bills. So if you enjoy the show and you love the show, please, please, please support the show. That said, we're good. I'll see you in a week. Who's on in a week? Back. Phil Demmel is on 1 week from today. There is no show on Wednesday. Phil Demmel is on 1 week from today. I will see you then. Everybody okay? Yes, this is what you do. We love it. Well, thank you. Thanks a lot. Hey, what can I tell you that I haven't told you before? Do good things, and good things will come to you.